Hello indie game fans, welcome back to I Dream of Indie. This is Ole Gamer Joe coming at you with another review for today. We're looking at Ginga Force on Steam PC, though it is also now available on the PlayStation 4. The price is $19.99 on whichever platform you choose. It's an action shoot-'em-up arcade-style shooter, and it was developed by Cute and published by Rising Star Games. This game actually did release on the Xbox 360 all the way back in 2013, but now it finds new life once again on the PlayStation 4 and PC for fans to enjoy. Ginga Force does actually feature more story than I was perhaps expecting, and you have two pilots at the head of that story, Alex and Margaret. You'll quickly discover that the two are working for the Mitsurugi Security Service, otherwise known as the MSS for short. You can think of it sort of like the police, though the game mentions that it's not an actual police force, but they are tasked with defending the people of this planet. This sets up an even larger story which revolves around the idea of collecting energy called Septonium. I'll simplify things here because the story, in my opinion, isn't really the standout feature of this game, but basically Evil Corporation wants to steal all of that energy, and of course the good guys don't want that to happen. So you do have that 10-stage story mode to choose, or also you have a score attack mode where you can compete for online leaderboards, which is kind of fun to be honest with you. But the main draw here is going to be that story mode. You can go through it on 3 different difficulties as well, and you're ranked for each level. You do unlock multiple levels at once after you've completed the first level, so you can choose between a variety of different levels going forward. There are 3 different ships in this game, and there's plenty of unlockables. You'll earn credits as you kill more and more enemies. The gameplay here is pretty standard and pretty basic. You'll be able to figure it out and pick it up in no time. You of course have your main weapon attack as well as a sub-weapon attack, and if you hold both buttons at once, you can actually unleash them both at once, which I thought was kind of cool. You do also have a special weapon, and again, there's a whole shop in this game where you can equip a wide variety of different items, so your weapon's going to depend on which ones you choose, obviously. And I think the game offers up a pretty good variety of customizable options. You can have a laser-like attack, you can have a spread shot, you can shoot from the sides of your vessel. However you choose to do it is really up to you. You of course do have to earn that currency, but once you do, the possibilities are kind of endless here. You can mix and mash and have a lot of fun doing so. It's not just about your weaponry in Ginga Force, however. You can also upgrade your engine, swapping it in and out. You have spare ships that you can hold on to, and you have extra slots where you can equip certain perks. Of course, you can also color customize your ship to a color of your choosing. I can definitely appreciate all the customizable options that this game will throw your way. It's probably the strongest aspect of Ginga Force, but the gameplay's no slouch either. It's a responsive title. I didn't notice any kind of lag or anything like that, and most of the deaths were my own fault. Well, except for the fact that the backgrounds did make me pretty dizzy for some reason in this game. I was actually pretty relieved when I discovered that one of the special attacks that you can get in this game slows down time, and that made it a little bit easier on my eyes. I'm not normally bothered by motion in video games, but this one really threw me for a loop. I was getting a little bit ill, and it was hard to keep track of all of the different enemies and bullets on screen at once because the scrolling is really fast. Thankfully though, this only really occurred in certain levels, and for the most part it wasn't a huge issue, but when it did pop up, boy, I was a bit surprised to be honest. I hadn't encountered something like that in quite some time. But on the whole, I think the gameplay is pretty sound in this one, and if you're a fan of shooters, you'll feel pretty comfortable. Graphically, Ginga Force was an Xbox 360 game, and it doesn't get much of an update here actually. The game is still pretty old looking. They didn't really go back and update the textures or anything like that. It looks kind of flat and uninspired if I'm being honest with you. Obviously the game runs pretty smoothly, which is probably the most important aspect here, but I do think the enemies are a little bit bland and boring. I think the backgrounds again scroll too fast to really be enjoyable at times, and there's nothing really super inspired about the art style. At the least though, I do have to credit some of the weapons, which can look pretty cool. And the soundtrack is actually really good. It's very rocking and very upbeat, has an anime feel to it. I think that the soundtrack here is actually quite effective. You don't really hear it so well unless you go in and mix things so that you can hear it better, because the sound effects are really dominant in this game, and I guess as they should be in a shoot-'em-up. But still, from what I could hear of that soundtrack, I really did enjoy it. The sound effects, like I touched on there, are quite effective. There's lots of booms and bangs as you would expect. But overall, I would say the graphics haven't aged particularly well, despite the fact that you can increase the resolution now and tweak just a few things, but the soundtrack has held up quite well, and the sound effects are pretty good too. Ginga Force, it's not a bad shoot 'em up. I would say the strong suit here again is definitely all of the collectibles and all of the different weapons and things that you can get for your ships, all of the ways you can customize it. That's really where the fun is. The levels aren't super inspired. Obviously, this is an older looking game, but it plays well enough. I think arcade shoot 'em up fans will appreciate the gameplay here. I do wish there was a 2-player option. That's definitely disappointing because that's something I always like to do with shoot 'em up games, play them with a friend. Unfortunately, you can't do that here, but it will last you a while. The story mode is challenging and you do have extra difficulties to try to get the best ranks on. Overall, Ginga Force is a solid shooter. It didn't blow me away or anything like that, but it's not half bad.
気をつけて。こんなところでドンパチやりやがって。初日から始末書者じゃねえか。前方に再び交差点。またかよ。容赦ない野郎だ。
So will you be checking out Ginga Force? Let us know down in the comments section below, and if you have enjoyed our coverage today, consider hitting that subscribe button. It helps us to bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming. There's a ton of other ways that you can support I Dream of Indie down in the description box below. That includes becoming a channel member, or even checking out our merchandise store or our Discord channel. However you end up supporting us though, we thank you so much.